Hey team, and welcome to the video version of the Funnily Enough podcast. This is where you get the raw, unedited version of the interviews that we do on the show. If you're more of an audio person, then head over to Apple Podcasts or any of the platforms that you like that supports podcasting, and you can listen to the fully edited thing there with intros, outros, and all the fun little jingles. However, if you're more of a video person, then that is coming right up. On this week's show, we have someone that I'm really grateful to call a friend. Someone that I maybe don't tell them this, but they're a big inspiration to me and have been, and meeting up with them in person has been really cool. It's been really cool to get to know this person. She calls herself the integrator at Entrepreneur on Fire. I essentially just think that means that she does all the work at Entrepreneur on Fire. That person is Kate Erickson. Kate, how are you?
I'm so good. That's a great introduction. Thank you.
Does that statement have an element of truth?
Some.
Well,
But neither of us will tell John that we said that.
Exactly. Let's hope John doesn't listen in. So, okay, I want to dive straight into a very serious question, which is: would you rather be a bird or a fish, and why?
A bird. I have okay, if you could, I was watching drone footage the other day. Actually, like some friends came here and they flew a drone over our community. And I thought, what an amazing perspective on the life that we are living to be like up above it all. It just like really hit me. And also I have like this really weird fear of like things that are around me when I'm in the ocean. So I'd probably be really stressed out if I were a fish.
That's hilarious. That's a good point. I've got a drone, and I always am kind of blown away by the shots that you can get. And birds are cool, like they speak and can sing
Yeah.
and stuff. I get that. I think I'd rather be a bird as well. So
Awesome.
let's dive into the actual questions now. It's fair to say, Kate, that Entrepreneur on Fire is a pretty successful business. Looking at the June income report on your site, made over $350,000 in the month, which is epic. Really cool stuff. The podcast has over 1.2 million monthly listeners. Amazing. What would you say is the secret sauce, like the Entrepreneur on Fire blueprint? What's the thing that you do better than any other business?
Oh, that's a really awesome question. First off, thank you. June was a really big month for us for various different reasons. But I'd really say the we run a very lean team and we're very focused on just in terms of like if we're thinking monetarily, like we're very aware and conscious of our bottom line and the not just gross but net revenues in our business. And I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's so easy because like you want to reinvest in the business and you want to reinvest in yourself, and like it's really easy to get carried away with like I'm going to run Facebook ads and I need to hire a marketing manager and I should have a big team because you hear all of this from people in the industry that that's like what you're supposed to do. And we've just kind of never done a lot of that stuff. And I think that it served us really well. John has like this amazing financial background and this savviness when it comes to investing and being smart with money. And I think that overall, the ability to keep a very large percentage of the money that we generate has helped our business continue to grow at a very rapid rate.
I love it because if I look at my own journey, when I first started, if somebody asked me, and I will say this shamelessly, somebody asked me, what do you want the business to look like? I would have said I wanted the biggest agency possible, like hundreds of staff, because I felt like I thought that's what success looked like. And then slowly over time, I've come to realize actually I don't want a big team. Like you don't need to have a big business. And somebody Instagram DM'd my videographer a couple of months ago and said, "What's Gav's ambitions?" And he said he just wants to grow a super profitable business, but keep the team small. And they were like, oh, that's disappointing. And I was like, there's a thing out there that you need to have a big team in order to be successful, which I find really interesting. So how big is the Entrepreneur on Fire team? And I think I already know this from when we met in Edinburgh last year, but I was blown away by how small it is. So tell the listeners, what's that look like?
Yeah, like I love this topic so much. I'm actually quite passionate about thinking about the type of business that you want to run. So I love that you've brought this up because I think a lot of people, again, are kind of chasing like what success looks like or what it is portrayed as without actually really thinking about like what business do you want to run? Like not what type of business somebody else is telling you to build or how many team members someone else is trying to tell you that you should have, but like what do you want? And that has been, big topic of conversation for John and I really for the last several years, even since we started the business. It's something that we've always thought about and that's really important to us because to your point, we do have a very small team. There's 5 of us, including myself and John. So it's me, John, then we have 3 virtual team members, 1 in Pakistan, 2 in the Philippines.
It's amazing. The fact that you can, I'm talking about money here, but this is money that you're openly sharing on the website. So the fact that you can make 350,000 with a team of 5, whereas you have some people that have like teams of 20 and struggle to make 50. It's like, one of the things I'm always interested in is you can get a job, and I'd like to touch on this journey that you've had. You can have a job and you can earn, let's say, $10 an hour. That's the amount of money that you make, all the way up to the scale where you have people making like you have £350,000 whilst you're traveling the world with a team of 5 people, including yourself. So almost like a scale of how much money you can make versus the time that you put in. And it seems like you're at the very other end, like the positive end of money versus time. And you obviously run a business where you're not charging time for money. Has there ever been a point where the business that you're in, I know you had a copywriting business and things, have you been on a journey yourself where you've gone from charging for time to a place where you're not charging for time, if that makes sense?
Absolutely. And like this is, so I've been going through Tony Robbins' training Knowledge Business Blueprint. And in it, Dean Graciosi has a module where he talks about that, where he's talking about he was at an event and I believe it was a Tony Robbins event where, Tony or whoever it was that was standing up on stage goes, who in this room believes that they can make $10 an hour? Everybody raises their hand. Who here believes that you could, in that same amount of time, make $100? And, fewer people raise their hand, but still some people are raising their hand. Okay, who thinks that you can make $1,000, $10,000, $1 million? And of course, as the numbers got higher, their belief that that was possible declined greatly. And it was like this mindset and this whole idea of it is possible because it's not the time, it's the impact that you're creating. And you can create that same impact and add so much value to people's lives without actually sitting down and being like stuck in one space for that hour. And my journey with that has been, like really accelerated. I'm very grateful for that because I feel like I've surrounded myself with people who do have that mindset and who do believe that's possible. And they've kind of helped me understand and see for myself, like I've proved it to myself now. I know that you can do that because I've done it. But man, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, I probably would have been one of those people where like my hand would have gone down, I don't know, maybe after $100, $500. Like I wouldn't have been able to wrap my mind around that.
Wow. So what was that a gradual process, that change in mindset, or was there a specific program, a specific person you met that talked to you about that? What does that journey look like for you?
I think a lot of it has come through experiences. And I wish that more people would lean on the experiences to like actually prove to themselves that like you can make something happen. A huge turn for me a big event that like happened for myself and John that really changed a lot of my mindset around like how we were running our business, what was possible in our business, was back in 2014. It was May 2014. So we had launched the podcast like a year and a half ish after we launched. We took a 2-week trip to Europe, completely unplugged from the business. Like we literally we didn't even bring our laptops. We did not go online. We didn't check email. We weren't on social media, like nothing. And that was like, it's like a switch flipped. And I thought like, before we did that, before I had that experience, I kept telling myself that that wasn't possible. Like, how can you, that was one of like our biggest months that year. And we weren't there for 2 weeks. And like, that's when, I kind of stepped into and fell in love with this idea of what systems can do to help you with time freedom, and like what an online business or entrepreneurship, even if it's not an online business, what entrepreneurship can do for like life freedom, financial freedom. And it's those experiences along my journey that I feel have helped bring me into the next stage, because it has absolutely been a progression. There was definitely not like one teaching or one training where like I just went from thinking that I couldn't do it to that I could, but like this repetition of these experiences where we continue participating in like these things that show us that this is possible and that we are doing this.
I love that, because I think a lot of people listening, and I speak from my own experience, will almost feel frustrated. Or I certainly sometimes, when I know where I am and I'm here and I want to be here, whatever that is, financial, time, a skill set, I always feel frustrated that I can't do that within like a week. I can't be like flick a switch and I'm there. And I feel like that might be a small business mentality, because you want things to happen fast. And I think a lot of people listening will probably be able to resonate with that. And the reality is these things take time, and you almost don't, or in my experience, you almost don't it's hard to explain, but you don't experience, it's almost like you don't experience that change in skill set or that change in mindset, because it happens so gradually and so slowly. There's not oh, there we go. So what I'd love to talk to you about is working from home, because I know a lot of people listening will be solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, business owners that work from home. And there's two main questions I'd like to ask you. The first one is, obviously you and John run the business. How do you find that running the business together impacts personal life? Does it impact your personal life? Do you feel that the business can ever get in the way of your relationship?
So John and I are incredibly lucky that we found each other. One, that we have such a solid foundation for our relationship. We were friends for over a year before we actually got together and started a relationship. And then we were in a relationship for a year before he started the business, which he started on his own. And I joined about 6 months after he launched. So I feel like the progression of like us being friends, then coming into a relationship, then John starting the business, then me joining the team has worked out quite beautifully, and not on purpose necessarily. And when John first asked me to join the team, I said no, because that was one of my biggest concerns, is like, we've just, been through so much and created this relationship. I moved across the country to live with him. And that was like when we got together. So I left California and moved to Maine, and like, we hadn't even really dated yet. So it was just totally this like leap of faith that we were meant to be together. And now we're going to be living together and we haven't even really dated yet. So like the progression of that, and what we had created in our relationship, I was really worried that getting into the business together might negatively affect that or impact that in a way that I had no idea about, because I'd never worked with somebody that, you know, I was dating, especially not in this capacity where you're like literally running the business together. Like, it's not like you guys are just employees of the same company or something. So I was definitely really worried about that, but I can say with 100% certainty that like this is exactly where we're supposed to be. I think that us running the business together and working together strengthens our relationship, our ability to share a vision and a mission and goals and understand what each other is going through on a day-to-day basis. It like takes our relationship to a level that like I didn't even know existed. And so again, I feel really, really grateful for that, because I don't think that that is the case for everyone. And I don't think that probably every couple is meant to work together. But John and I just have really opposite skill sets and really opposite ways that we come at ideas and projects. And, you know, our minds think different. And in that difference, like we kind of make a perfect match for the business. So we've set a lot of boundaries for sure.
What do they look like? Like, or do you sometimes find that disagreements in the relationship can impact the business and vice versa? If you have different, do you ever I feel like sometimes there could be the temptation to take a disagreement in a business sense, and then when you go out of business mode, like it's still lingering. How does that work?
Yeah. John and I are just really open communicators. There's certainly been times where like I get really worked up about like a business situation, or like we'll get into something. I love constructive criticism and I'm always open to it, and I receive it. But because of how emotional I can be with some things, it's hard sometimes for me to actually let it go. So like in a situation where John, rightly so, is, you know, kind of like making me aware of the fact that like I really messed up, like that's hard for me to let go of sometimes. And so it can be like, you really have to take yourself out of the relationship almost, because if I were to look at that as like, you know, my significant other, my other half, my boyfriend, whatever, is like really mad at me right now, or, you know, like upset at the situation, yeah, I can totally see how that would like not be great for your relationship and your everyday. But luckily I feel like we've kind of have this thing where we end, like we close things out. So like if we're having a conversation about something that went wrong, or we're having a disagreement, like we make sure that that's closed out before we move, you know, before we're having dinner, or, you know, before we're going out on a walk. Like, all right, we put it out there, we said it, this is how we both feel about it. Like, let's close it up and learn from it, move on. So yeah. And,
openness.
and, and we always say too, like when we're doing personal stuff, if either of us doesn't want to talk about business, like either of us has a veto card to be like, I'm not going to talk about business right now. So yeah, stuff like that.
I love that, having boundaries that you both agree upon. That's cool. Love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to interrupt proceedings here to introduce a little game. It's my favorite game. It's called the 5-second rule. Have you heard of it before?
No.
Cool.
I could probably guess what it's about, but let's see.
Yeah, so the rules are simple. I'm going to read out 10 statements, and that might be things like name 3 types of bird. And you simply have to give me an answer within 5 seconds. If you get the answer, if you get those answers, you get a point. If you don't, you don't get a point. And then we're going to be comparing you all against the other interviewees. So I have a question for you. This isn't part of the quiz. Yellow cards or red cards?
Yellow.
Yellow. Let's do yellow cards. Okie doke. Cool. Let me find my stopwatch.
Is this a game that you play like regularly?
Yep. This is one of my favorite games.
It sounds very fun. I'm excited.
We're talking about relationships and like disagreements and things. This game has caused many of those. Okay.
Is Lauren not such a fan?
Lauren's a fan, but I get overly competitive. to the point that it annoys her. So I have to
Sounds
tone it
quite familiar.
down. Okay, so I've got 10 here, 10 yellow cards. I'm going to say the statement, then start the time, and you've got 5 seconds to give me the answer.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Okay, name 3 fashion designers.
Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and Nordstrom.
Time's out. Name 3 animals that live in the cold.
Polar bears, fish, and sharks.
Nice. Name 3 famous jacks.
I don't even know what a jack is.
I think like I'll start the time again, like Jack Black or
Oh, Jack's just like the name. Okay, I was
yeah.
thinking like okay, well,
Let's go.
I will lose that question, so we can just
Skip that one. Name 3 reality TV shows.
Survivor, Bachelor, and Bachelorette.
Nice. Name three best things about school.
Learning, teaching, and friends.
Love it. Name 3 donut fillings.
Strawberry, cream, and butter. Gross.
Butter, nice. Are you a donut fan?
Not real, and not filled donuts. No.
I don't think you would be. Name 3 crime or spy novel authors.
Oh my gosh.
Time is out. Name 3 Mario characters.
Um.
Time is out. These are hard. Name 3 titles of relatives.
Mom, dad, and aunt.
Nice. And final one, name 3 famous American actresses.
Oh, wow.
Time is out. Kate scored.
Everyone who popped into my mind, I'm immediately like, are they American?
You know what? I wouldn't have even been able to verify the answer there because my film knowledge is so bad.
Yeah, mine too. And apparently my crime and what was it? Spy novels?
Yes. Crime and spy novels. 5 out of 5. I feel like that's respectable. Those ones were tough.
50%. I'm good with that.
We'll take that. We'll take that. Amazing. Now, just a few more questions for you. One of the biggest questions, or the question I get asked most often from people when I speak about working from home, is how do you stop yourself getting distracted and doing things like the dishes or the laundry or shopping on Amazon for random stuff around the house? Like I've got a bedroom that I need to go paint. How do I stop myself? As someone that works from home, works from wherever you've got a Wi-Fi connection and a laptop, how do you stop yourself getting distracted in those moments?
Yeah, I'm a big one with the dishes, actually. Like I have this weird obsession with having a clean kitchen. So the way I remove it is it's part of my morning routine. So anything that's going to potentially distract me throughout the day, I either have to schedule a time that I'm going to do it so that I'm not thinking like, should I be doing that? Like, okay, no, I shouldn't be doing that because I know I'm going to do it like at this day, at this time. Or I do it as a part of my morning routine. So every morning I wash all the dishes, then I don't have that distraction or I can't make that excuse throughout the day. So yeah, you should schedule like a day when you're going to paint that room so that you aren't thinking about it.
Well, that's actually what I did. So I've scheduled it for tonight. I love that because it's super practical because you're like, I know I need to do that and I know that my mind is going to want to do that. So let's schedule it in the diary, make it happen. Love it. We kind of spoke about this off air, but when we first met, you were traveling Europe or it was a world tour, was it? Or is it Europe? Europe or world? It was Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And you're off on another one very shortly. Where is the best city that you've ever been to and why do you love it so much?
Oh my goodness, the best. I loved Edinburgh like so much. I mean, that really is like one of the top highlights of my travels. We just loved our time there. It was so varied and diverse of what we were able to do while we were there, and the authenticity and just like those are the types of things like you can't take pictures of it
Mm.
because it doesn't even begin to capture like the feeling or the experience of being there. Um, but also, I will say one of my very top favorite places that we've been was also last fall, Bratislava. And it was a very small, quaint, walkable, very like old, authentic as well, unique. That was a really, really cool stop.
Brilliant. Cool. I've never been there. And that's not somewhere I would ever think to go as well. So maybe
Yeah,
add it to the list.
I think it's it's becoming a little bit more popular, but it's still on the very tail. Like, it's still a destination that not a lot of people would think to go to, and I think in that lies what it's part of what makes it special is because
Yeah.
it's not a super like tourist destination.
Yeah, totally. Exactly. Love it. Here's a final question. We're getting to the 25-minute mark. If we could fast forward 10 years, what advice do you think you would give your current self?
Oh wow.
So thinking about maybe the problems and things that you're thinking about right now,
hmm
10 years wiser, older, what advice do you think you'd give yourself right now?
Probably to put things in perspective more often. Um, Not put so much pressure on myself for the decisions that I'm making on a day-to-day basis. That's something that I've really struggled with over the past year is, well, I've really struggled with it like all my life, but the past year, as our business grows bigger, as our responsibilities grow bigger, as the impact that we're making grows bigger, I feel I spend a lot of time making decisions because I'm worried. I get worried a lot about the implications or like the outcome of those decisions. And I'm really working hard on putting those things into perspective because of course if we're not making decisions, we're not moving forward. And that's certainly not something that I don't want to be standing still by any means. So I think maybe giving myself a little bit more grace in that area. I think probably in 10 years I'll look back and think like, wow, I really shouldn't have been stressing it so much.
Yeah, that's a big one. Me and Lauren are doing a lot of looking into a lot of Stoic philosophy right now. That
Mm,
really, and it's made such a big impact to our relationship and my business as well. In that, like, what's the point in getting stressed? It's easier said than done, but
sure.
like life goes on regardless of what happens. So I love that. Is that do you feel like your running helps with that? I know you've been doing a lot of running recently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the separation and actually, I look forward to what this trip coming up that we're going on opens up in this regard. Because certainly last year when we were on that trip, when we met up with you guys, um, it was for the first time really for such an extended period of time, an opportunity to be out of our day-to-day routines. And don't get me wrong, I'm really a big fan of routines and I think that they're important, but getting out of that and giving ourselves space to think and brainstorm and dream and do all these things, you really get a new perspective on life and you think about things that maybe you don't give yourself the opportunity to think about when you're in the day to day. So I look forward to what opens up on this trip that we're going on.
Amazing, Kate. Thank you so much for coming and spending time. It's been great to chat. And
Yeah, absolutely.
where to just to wrap up, where can everyone find you and what you're up to?
Yeah, everything that we do is over at eofire.com.
Brilliant. I have one final question. It's been bugging me since we met. Is John's name John Lee or John?
So his first name's John and his middle name is Lee.
Right, got it. Because you know what? Secretly, I've never known whether to call him John Lee or John, and I've not had the balls to ask. Good to clear that up.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, either one works.
Great, amazing, Kate. You've been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. You're so welcome. Thanks for having me, Gavin.
Hey team, me again, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the video version of the podcast. And I hope you took something away from that. Maybe a smile, maybe something of inspiration, or maybe an idea came to your mind. Be sure to drop me a comment and let me know what that thing was for you. Now, if you want to listen to more or watch more episodes of the podcast, you can do that here on YouTube or Facebook, or head over to Apple Podcasts or the podcasting platform of your choice. Just be sure to hit subscribe, leave us a little review and a 5-star rating, and I will love you forever. See you in the next episode.